Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Hope all's well. I want to thank you for attending today's webinar. We're going to wait for a few seconds for everyone to settle in and enjoy this informative and interactive webinar. Some of the housekeeping items, this webinar is being recorded, so we'll be able to send you the link of the recording along with the presentation as well. So in case if you have to step out, had a phone call, by all means, you could definitely take advantage and use it as a reference as well. Should you have any questions in regards of today's presentation, I encourage you to type it in the Q&A option as throughout the presentation, and at the end of the presentation, I will be your moderator, and Martha will be able to respond to you. But at the same time, it's about networking. So introduce yourself, what type of business industry you're in, what are some challenges, some outcomes, some good, bad, positive experiences that you have had, and Martha will be more than happy to address them, as bringing those examples, those experiences from her experience and also from your experience to tie in and build that bridge, how to position yourself in the buying market, in the marketplace. So once again, I want to thank you for attending today's webinar. My name is Jesus Padilla. I am the program manager of the Florida SBDC at FIU, and I have a great colleague of mine, Martha Roy, that she is going to be today's presenter. A brief description of what is the Business Navigator program. Martha will be able to go to the next slide. It's a pilot program from the SBA that was established in part of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 that will be able to assist small businesses with economic recovery. As the Florida SBC at FIU is the hub that will be able to assist with other organizations throughout the community to provide that no-cost technical assistance center. The overall goal is to improve long-term economic recovery, along with the resiliency of all small businesses. The main focus is to help all businesses that are owned by veterans, women-owned, socially and economic disadvantaged individuals, along with the core program that has technical assistance, trainings and outreach, and sharing information how we can provide you as another tool to your toolbox for your economic prosperity. In addition, part of this great program, our group, we were able to secure a $2.5 million 2-year grant, which is the Community Navigator Network for businesses that are physically located in Miami-Dade, Miami-Dade County. The overall focus, once again, is to create that local community navigator network to assist you in trainings, outreaches, networking. How can I help you? That is my goal. Next slide. In addition, with the Navigator, who are the other organizations, who are the other spokes? We have Ascendis, we have branches, the South Dade EDC, the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce, Prospera, the Startup FIU Procurement, and as such, the Florida SBDC at FIU. We are your local technical assistance centers that can assist you to take your growth to the next level. And I know that some of our great participants that have been attending today, it has been your 6th one, your 10th workshop. By all means, we encourage you to register so you'll be able to meet with our great colleagues, our great spokes on how we can assist you. Once again, it's no cost. All of our information is confidential. In the chat, I'll be able to input more additional information, the website, the link to register for consulting. If you want to meet with Martha or with any of our organizations, I will be your liaison. You will have my email address. But like I said, we start as strangers, we're leaving as family at the end of this workshop. And without further ado, allow me to introduce you to Martha Roy. She is our business consultant that specializes in government contracting here at the Florida SBDC at FIU. So Martha, the show is yours.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me good?
Yes, you're good.
Okay. So as Jesus says, my name is Miata Roy, and I'm one of the business consultants on the SBDC for the Navigator program. So today we're gonna touch on government contracting and conditioning. really like an overall, because it would take weeks and weeks to even go over one section, but overall like a roadmap of people that are interested to do government work or that's already in the government work, and we can have this interaction because the group may be at different levels with their businesses. So the webinar today will just cover generally, the laws and the regulations or methods of procurement, what the federal government considers social economic interests and social economic groups, the phases of the acquisition process, the types of contracts, and the reason I have get registered in bold, because if you're not registered, they don't know that you exist. And that's been with any municipality or anybody you want to do business with. You must register in the system for them to know that you exist. So as we know, laws and regulations, you have your public laws that are established. And then you in 1994, they had a federal streaming act. The reason I'm citing these is to go and do some research, because as you get involved in government contracts will tend to reference these types of references in the contract, or in the reps and certs, your representations and certifications. So it's always good to get familiar, or civilian codes. They have codes for the civilians. You have your FARs, which is your federal regulation acquisitions, and then there's the DFARs, because each of government defense organization or entity has, they abide by the FARs, and then they have certain regulations that's abide just to them. And of course, then you have your civilian agencies. So or branches of government, the legislative, why we have it at first, because this is what kind of drives our businesses. So we know the executive branch is the president, and then we have a judicial court system. So in general, there's about 125 military and civilian agencies. So that's why I tell clients, it's always, we know that the government is the biggest consumer of goods and services. However, you have to pinpoint which government agencies that you're gonna quote. So there's many of them. So you really can't look at 125 agencies. So once you determine which one of those that buy your commodity code that you can establish relationship with, so that's what you'll have to concentrate on. And then of course, your SAM registration is a must if you want to look into the government regulation. We'll talk more about the requirements, because the reason I like to put the 25,000, because then now I believe it went up to 50. Sorry, I didn't change that slide. I got a new chart yesterday where these are small purchases, where I always encourage small businesses to search, because the competition is less. And depending on what socioeconomic group that you fall into, you can, get some heads up with these programs. So there are like 3 phases of the acquisition process, what we call your pre-award. So that's everything up to the time that the contracting officer and its team signs the award to that particular company. So this is your advertisement. The pre-award consists of advertisement and whatever the regulations of that agency has to follow by law. You have to advertise it in 3 different places: public advertisement, receiving of the bid analysis, recommendation for award. All that is done in the pre-award phase. But what I like to work with clients in prior to the pre-award phase is when you need to start looking at that project that you may be interested in. But we're gonna cover that, I think, in some slides coming up. And then you have your award stage, which is basically when the government negotiates or has come up with agreement with that particular company and signs a contract. So now you have a good and services. You're gonna deliver something and receive compensation for it. Your post award is what happens after the contract ends. Depending on the commodity, for example, if you have to deliver a case of pens, the post award is really gonna be nothing. But if it's an engineering project, if it's a construction project, if it's parts, things that requires inspection, the post-award process could be as important as the award phase or the phase of the contract. And so these are the methods of procurement. We have your micro purchases, that was I was talking about earlier. So usually these are any contracting officer representative have authority for micro purchases. Sometimes what people would hear P card or a purchase order, something small that requires one signature usually. So if it's under that certain dollar threshold, it can go in, pretty easy. So I always tell a client, look, if you get, 5 small purchases, that helps you start building resources, that help you start, anything helps you start to build that past performance. You have your simplified acquisition. Again, the government, depending on the dollar threshold and the severity of the scope of the work, is the method of procurement that would be used. Seal bid, meaning that, all you give them is the price, close up, and they would determine the lowest price. All right. Invitation to bid, when the government invites you, I'm thinking of having this project and, I'm inviting you to bid. An invitation to bid is not a guarantee of contract or contract award. And also you have your invitation to negotiate. So sometimes this could, either be your price, cost, or the technical proposal, depending on what the requirement is that the government is looking for. Then you have your request for quote. So when a company is brand new, I always tell them, try to do RFQs, because RFQ is based on the price, meaning that once you understand what the scope is, you can, submit a price for it. You don't have to go through the process of developing a whole proposal and having to meet with all the even though with the request for quote, whatever that purchase order calls for, of course you have to meet it, versus an RFP, which is a full request for proposal that requires both technical and cost, a fully developed document. So you have your also RFQs are called requests for qualifications. Sometimes the government is not caring about the cost. When you say that, it's really kind of oxymoron, because they always care about the cost. But it could be that that the commodity, that technical commodity or that research is more important than cost. So they're looking for people that is the best qualified to do it. So once they find the most qualified firm, they start a negotiation with their baseline budget for that contract. So that's usually what the request for qualification do. And of course, your request for proposal is your full base proposal. I usually tell people, unless you're ready to show the past performance, which they 90%, if not more, they ask for financial documents. Don't go for RFPs, because it can be costly for you to prepare, whether you do it yourself or you hire somebody, and you may not, I've seen people send out 2 or 3 RFPs a week. So let's say that's like, 15 to 20 a month. They're lucky if they get back, 2 or 3. And a lot of it is not all positive. So then you have your sources sought. The reason this is so important, and that's mostly, and I've seen that Miami-Dade County does it a lot here, and so does the federal government. That's when they have a project that they're thinking to put out in the street, but they're either looking for the best qualified base that can do that project, and also that helps them determine, or many of these sources or small businesses or certified, either women, disabled, whatever category you are. So that helps the government at the time determine whether they can take some of that scope and set it aside for that particular socioeconomic group that fit, so that's what is important. And for, when you see a source is sought, and like I said again, I'm registered with Miami-Dade County, even though I'm not activating my firm. I get that a lot for certain categories that match my NAIC codes, because they want to see how many small businesses or have the resources, or have the bandwidth to be included in the potential project. And request for information is a little bit less than the sources source. Again, they're thinking that they may want to have a project, or somebody, or they may need somebody out there to come and propose something. Sometimes the government identifies a problem and looks for somebody to help solve it. And that's part of requesting, the goods and services. I have this problem that I need to solve, and the best source is gonna come in and solve that problem for an exchange of fee. And this here is the government agencies. So every year, the federal government, and that's how the goals are assisted. This is the whole other class that I did. But basically, the federal government has to set aside a percentage of the overall budget to small businesses, and that set aside gets broken down to the socioeconomic groups. So, so this year, these are like the micro purchases that you can do. So some of the set aside sometimes would fall into getting the micro purchases. So anything from 3,000. So before the first flight was 1,000. So this is the most updated one. So anything from 3,500 to 10,000 could be like a purchase order or P card. Meaning for small business, you don't really have to compete a lot, because sometimes once they get two, they don't need a lot of quotes. If they get two quotes and they do the quote analysis, and of course they go for the lowest cost. The idea is the lowest cost, but the best value. So I tell people a lot of times too, the next person may get it even if they were at a higher cost, but if they can show that their services is superior, if they can, if as a contracting officer, I can write a justification why I'm giving this contract that is $2,000 more than the lowest bid, so don't get caught up with price, but mostly, describing your services and how you can do it. So for construction, so this is the breakdown right now of the micro purchases with the federal government. And then you have your simplified acquisition. Again, things that require less bandwidth to bid for, versus having to respond to a full proposal. And these types of purchases also, they help you build past performance. They help you start having resources, because you don't need to have a whole proposal writer. You don't need to hire people. You can start doing small projects. So all types of contracts. Let me see. Okay, yeah. So the types of contracts that the government usually deals with. So your cost plus fixed fee, meaning that the cost of the job, the cost of the project, plus whatever fixed fee that you would negotiate on top of that cost that you and the government has agreed on, and the total price of the contract would be your cost plus fixed fee. Meaning that even the cost can fluctuate, because sometimes there could be a change order that adds additional work to your job, but your fee stays fixed. So plus award fee. So all of these types of contracts vehicle is how you negotiate that package, and what at the end of the day, incentive. So incentive, when I was back in the government, God, that was so years ago. Again, like I said, the government has a problem that the contractor comes in and try to resolve it. Now, it can be in the statement of work that the government say, I want this to be done A, B, C, D, E. But you as a contractor said, oh, I have an innovative way, to save. So if you can save whatever you can save, am I sorry, where am I? So the incentive fee, meaning that if you any saving that you do, so you have an incentive, an additional fee. Cost sharing is the same thing. As you help the government save money on that project, so you share the cost of that project. So then you have your firm fixed price. Now, firm fixed price contract, I usually tell people if they tell you, give me 50 envelopes, there's no chance of that commodity changing. That's a great contract to go. That's a great type of contract, because whatever you sign for, now whether the price go up, it's your problem. If it goes down, it's your advantage. So that's firm fixed price contract. So with economic adjustment, what I just explained. So now if you can prove to the government that all of a sudden there's this supply chain problem, your cost went up 20%. So this language allows you to do that adjustment in the contract. And incentive fee kind of covers the same thing with the cost plus and the award fee that we just discussed previously. So you have your indefinite quantity contract. The reason I like to talk a little bit about this, like for example, I'm working with a client who's a veteran, and so he's been putting in little bids through the DLA, and he found something that says, it's an IDU contract, and he's excited because the amount was 720 some units. And so as I'm reviewing it with him, and I said, look, what you got to look for in this contract is the minimum requirement, because that 700 is the max. They don't have to order that. They're telling you that may be a not to exceed amount unless they change the contract document. Or ever minimum, says 20 a year. So the minimum requirement, so it means that they can come in anytime during, that contract period and order stuff from you. But don't think that once you see that contract and see a top number, this is what the government is obligating to. It's not. So your blanket agreement, it's usually, oh my God, it's usually a blanket contract that is driven by purchase orders or work orders, as they need stuff from you because you already have established costs, established terms, and already in the contract. All of these have been negotiated. So as they need something from you, they go to that price list, and then they draw from work order. So it's a blanket purchase agreement. Your time and material is a type of contract when you're bidding your RFP. So if this is what the request for, proposal requires, is a time and material contract. So this is how you price it, and this is how. So that's when you have your labor and plus your material. That and I have seen this type of contracts mostly with construction, this type of thing, labor hour contracts, or where you could give the government a loaded rate, meaning that you have a person, because I have seen companies that would take a high level person in that job classification, a medium and a low, and then come up with one average rate on your labor hours. So and you load it with your overhead and your administrative and administrative fees. So that would be your. So anytime the government hires, let's say, a project manager from you, so they'll go to that contract and look at that price list. Project manager is $75 an hour. So that's what you would bill and you would get paid. Not necessarily that you're paying that project manager $75. This is your loaded rate to the government, for that thing. And a leather contract would be the smaller P-card type things where they could just tell you this is, as long as it's authorized by the government. The key is for any person out there, when you are doing work with the government, you don't do anything on your own unless you get authorization from them to change anything in the contract that's signed. Because you could be out there in the field and one superintendent said, oh my God, you got to change this bolt. That's not the bolt, but you have your contract document and said, that's the bolt that's in the contract. And you got to say, sir, by all respect, I need a change order. I cannot do anything because if you change that bolt just on your superintendent words with the contracting people not being aware that the change is being made where the superintendent is not announcing that he's asking for that change, you're going to swallow that cost. Okay, so now also the federal government identify the socio-economic interests. So you see large businesses there. Yeah, large business is not excluded from, being part of the government realm of thing. And there's further slide that can explain what these things are a little bit. And of course, small businesses. So as far as, ethnicity group is Black, Hispanic, Native American, Asian, and white. Yes. So not every government contract exclude large businesses or people of white descent. So what are the socioeconomic programs? So based on the first slide, they have developed certain programs that is based on socioeconomic. So you have your service disabled veteran. To me, that's the highest certification in the federal program. Why? Because the benefits are outrageous. If you know how to maneuver, these benefits, they are there and they are, true. If you can get your letter from the vet, it's called your verification letter. It takes a little bit if you don't have your paperwork in order, but once it's gotten, it's one of the best certifications. So that certification is not exclude, you could be a male, you could be a female, you either a large or small business, because it's based on you having that status from the VA. So that's what this socioeconomic. So then you have your economically disadvantaged women own small business. The reason I like this one also, it puts you in a smaller pool, just like the service disabled veterans. Everything, it just kind of, sometimes, they still like set aside, sole source you're seeing less and less. But my understanding is if you build relationship and they know what you do, and there could even be possibility of sole source for this certification. Now, this certification is you have to be a minority woman in a small business. And so you have your WOSB business. This one does not require, the only difference with these two is you don't have to be a minority woman. So as long as you're a woman, you could either be a large business or a small business to get this certification. And again, the certifications are tools. If a company can get certification, that's just like added tools, to your, it's almost like, getting degrees as a person and stuff like that. So you have your veteran-owned small business. So if you're not disabled, there's also this certification. Like I said, again, no certification is better than none. The idea is to get as many certifications as your company can apply for, so you can be in all the pools for that matter. So again, this one, male or female, it doesn't matter if you're Black, white, Asian, or whatever. And then your HUBZone. Now, I used to be very intimidated by the HUBZone, but I finally did it with a client, I think this week. It's intimidating getting into it and just working through, because they make sure, because she's being certified based on location. This thing requires two things. You're either in a HUBZone, and the way to determine that, they have a map that you can just type the address and it lets you know if you're in a HUBZone. Or if 35% or more of your workers reside in a hub zone. Now I'll tell you, I think the reason I got intimidated because when I first studied it, I was basing it on the workers. So it's a lot more steps because you have to have all the information on the worker and all the verification and all the certification versus the location is, you know, the business is located there. They still put you through hoops, but it's able to get it. And another thing now, you can, if there's a contract in a hub zone and you're not located in the hub zone, you can apply for that contract with the condition that 35% or more of your workforce is gonna be hired from the hub zone. Now that requires a lot of administrative lift because you have to fill out a lot of things the workers have to sign. But if you're able to manage that, so looking at hub zone contracts, because you're not located in one, it's not out of the question. And then with the hub zone, they don't really care about your makeup. It's based on location and your percentage of workers. And of course, there's the 8A certification, which it's sometimes amazing that people that have just maybe incorporated like last year or in 2020, they'll come to me and want the 8A. 8A is your trump card. 8A is a program that is good only for 9 years. And I tell people the best success that I've seen with the 8A was this guy, I think that was in business, 5-6 years and worked from the grounds up, learning the contracting, got some state contracts, some local contracts, really did the sweat. And then, he had a business plan for his company. And then he had he liked to call it his business plan for the 8A, but he had what I helped him develop was a work plan, like for the 8A program. So you have the 8A now, what? It's like and it takes so much time and so much resources that I tell people you have to be ready mentally, you have to be ready with your resources, and you have to be ready that if you get it on May 1st, by April 25th, you should already be at that gate, ready to take off, because that's how serious it is, where you already would have your structure done, whether if you're gonna do a mentor protege program, because what usually happens with the 8A that I've seen success with it, when you're about ready to do it, maybe 2 years prior to do it, and you start looking at 8A companies with the same NICS code as yours that are about to graduate out of the program. And then, form like an alliance with them. And what I had seen that this gentleman had done, where he was able to even, because he was graduating, let's say in 2 years, and he had been awarded 5 years contract. The fact that he had already been awarded the contract, he was still in the program, he was allowed to finish the program. But he knew that this was a recurring contract. So it took them like 2 or 3 years when they were building the relationship, building that new 8A as he was going through the process. And all the contracts that he had, by miracle, was flowing through her. And that was amazing. So 8A is something that, you have for 9 years. And I said, just wait at least 5 years down the line. Let me see that you've won some government contracts. Let's see that you understand, before you even go into that. So I always say, what do the government, their expectations, right? So they want timely delivery. That's why when you go for an RFP, when you responding to a request for proposal, it's always very clear that you have to give a schedule of deliverable, a timeline of how things gonna happen. Now, versus a request for quote, something that you still gotta give them, yes, period of performance for this contract is May 1st to July 1st. So May 1st, the contract is signed and is going. What is gonna happen on the 15th, is there a deliverable due on the 31st? You may not, it depends on what the contract document is, but internally, these are the kind of document you need to develop and make sure that you don't miss a bit, because the government is paying you for what they're asking for. And I always tell people, people think the government is difficult. No, give the government what they ask for. No more, no less. And we are gonna be on the same path. Quality product, of course, you know, the best of what you do, because this is your reputation. And of course, they look for reasonable price, you know, whatever that would mean, because it's subjective. And they usually look, so it's the 3 R's when you would talk, you know, to in the federal realm. So you have to be responsive. Responsive meaning that you are responding to that offer, you know, or sometimes somebody, I have seen proposal where people want to put all the bells and whistles, all the stuff they are, all the stuff the company. No, we don't really care. We want you to respond to the request that is on the table. So you're going to be responsive. Responsible means you have to have the resources to be able to deliver what you're promising me. Because I tell a lot of people, understand, especially your first contract with the federal government, or actually any government agency, you are not going to get paid in 30 days, at least not the first invoice. So the key is the government is expecting you every day to deliver whatever services that you contracted to. Now, there could be some administrative stuff, you know, signing in, trying to get into the system, and that's going to be with the payment group. That has nothing to do with you delivering the services. I have seen people where it takes 2 months, close to 90 days before they get their payment, because things got caught up in the system. In the meantime, you have to meet your payroll. You have to meet, you know, everything for all that time. So that's why responsible means having the resources to deliver what you're deliver. Because or it could be a firm fixed price contract where they tell you payment's gonna be at the end upon delivery or upon close of the contract. So you got to have the resources to be able to deliver that, you know, for that payment. So that's what, you know, I always emphasize, because, you know, people have to really understand, they have to be ready before they engage in that. And reasonable, they're always looking at cost, where they really hope that you can come as cheap as possible. And so again, getting registered, the first thing for the folks that are thinking about going in business, or you need a federal tax ID number, and then you're done in Bradstreet. Even though I've been getting notices that SBA is getting away from DNB number as your as a way to be identified. So I don't know, but we're still using that right now. And SAM. And a lot of people think that once they register in SAM, that's it. No, when you register in SAM, that's the first step. That's just that's just a requirement for you to, before you can look at anything in the federal government. So then you have to set up an SBA profile. And then depending if you fit any of these criteria and you want to look into certification, you have to go, better certify that gov. And so you go on to the next thing. So the SAM is just one step. It's not even close to certification. It's a simple registration. I'm sorry. So as I was saying earlier, the federal government, how they set aside and certain contracts, and then it's also participation goals. So these are 24 agencies that have to have. Everybody, does it, like SBA is one of the ones that really, try to have, to exceed their stuff. But understand, it's not just SBA. All of these have yearly set aside contracts that have to meet the goals that was assigned to them. You know, sometimes it's 10% of their budget, 15%, whatever it is. So that's why in the beginning, when I said there's 125 agencies, civilian and government, you can't do business with everybody. You can't go after everybody. So once you decide, you know, oh, what I usually do with clients during sessions, we'll go to the website and look up, you know, real quick what the small business thing is, who's buying what, or tell the client, do a little bit of research to see if they buy your commodity, because the government has to post everything that they've done. You can go to any of the government websites and see what contracts they did for last year and in what commodity codes they spent what. Whoever got the highest contract with public money, it's required that they have to advertise everything, they have to do everything. So these are agencies that, you know, with your certification on the federal level, that you can leverage, you know, to get part of this set aside, you know, with them. So I will open up for questions.
Okay, Martha, I just have a few questions for you. You're talking about the different certifications. Is there of cost to do these certifications?
Oh no, this is the good thing with us, right? The SBDC Center, we and I happen to be one of the consultants that facilitate the certifications. Any and Jesus, you said you were gonna let them know that if they have not, if anybody on this call is not registered with us, please register, because I'm gonna tell you, whether you're already in business or just thinking about getting in business, we have a consultant that can help guide you. And if we don't have the resources to guide you, we have all these partners that we can refer you to, because, you know, your success is our success. So as far as the certification, Jesus, I would love for us to put maybe the certification presentation. We can do that class for this group in the near future. That it doesn't cost you anything except, you know, hearing me for about an hour to an hour and a half, you know, and giving you homework and then interactioning with you, and then us getting excited together when you're getting your certification. Then when you're ready for your business plan, I refer you to Jesus, who sent you to one of the, you know, one of our consultants. If you need help with your website, sent you back to Jesus, who sends you to our consultant. The good thing with our group, we have a specialty, and even though we all link, because we are business consultants, but we all specialize in something, and we work, you know, so well together. So no, for that matter, our services cost $0, and we can help you with any certification that you need.
Yep, and I don't have to pay for a SAM registration or women-owned, veteran-owned. It's no cost, correct?
No cost at all, nothing.
Yeah, too. Perfect. Okay. I just have a few questions for you, and if you have any questions, I encourage you to put it in the Q&A option. This one's gonna be pretty a pretty long question. It's what are the GWACS, the government-wide acquisition contract, IDIQ, the indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, BPAs, the blanket purchase agreements, are all these based on GSA schedule rates?
No, not necessarily. These are methods of procurement, right? So, meaning that usually these vehicles are used because the services are continuous. So, you know, when they need something continuously, so they'll give you a blank purchase order because they don't have time for when they need it, you know, and or sometimes on disaster contracts too, you'll find these things where everything's already agreed upon. They just tell you, look, I need you to go do this for me. So the GSA schedule, I'm just looking into the GSA schedule also for client, and, you know, and trying to educate myself. The GSA schedule is almost to me like the 8A certification, you kind of have to be ready, because there are certain, you have to be able to do $25,000 as a minimum on that, so I just did some research this week. Yeah, so no, to answer your question, those are types of method of procurement that can be used by any agency for recurring services. I hope that helps.
Yep, and also shameless plug. Like obviously, this presentation is more geared towards the federal agencies, but at the same token, Martha has a wide experience to do the state and local contracting as well. So, in case like I want to do business with the city of Miami, what do I need? Martha will be more happy to connect you with the procurement analyst, procurement specialist, the buyer for the city of Miami or any other municipality, and along with the state as well. So it's not only federal, but also the state and local. Martha will be more happy to assist you on that front as well.
Right.
So just a small shameless plug there. Another question is there any recommended resources, tools for pricing out services or products?
Not that I'm aware of. It's just I don't know if you have any consultants that maybe or specialize in price.
In that case, I encourage you to register at our center so that we could have like a business consultant to assess it and also to address those areas and those strategies in terms of to make sure that it's more bang for your buck and be profitable based on the pricing out your services. At the end of the day, you want to make money. You don't want to be underselling yourself at the same token.
Right. And to follow up on Jesus, I always, the first thing people do, the price of that, the true cost of that project, and you have to be honest with yourself, because not every project is the project for, it's the right project for you, right? So once you look at the true cost of the project, meaning that if you have to drive somewhere, everything, your time, whatever it takes, and then see if it's even worth it. And also, I recommend that you look at previous contracts to get an idea of what was bid for that project 5 years ago. And if the price adjustment is that much, then you know the right justification to write in that proposal.
Yep. I also on the chat I put the link to register. If you want to meet with Martha or with any of our other organizations as well. And then in terms of where can we get the view of previous projects, Martha will be able to guide you, because at the end of the day, it's like, who are based on the NACE codes, based on what agencies are buying, based on the items that you're trying to service and procure to. Okay, I just have a few questions. Are there cross certifications available for other state certifications, like state of Ohio certifications in reference to city of Miami or state of Florida related contracts?
No, as far as certification, right? Each state have their own regulation. Now, when you have a federal certification that covers any state, or ever, for example, for the state of Florida, you have to do a domicile paperwork to prove that how long you've been a resident of Florida and what have you. So I'm not aware, with the exception of the national, let me see, NMS, National Council, if it's the Florida Council Minority Diversity Council. There's a national council that does a certification for a fee, but and then it touches everywhere in the US. But my experience, I believe, with that certification is mostly accepted by corporate members, not necessarily government entities. But, we could have to do more research, to get more specialized with you. But as far as cross-reference certification, besides the federal certification that covers the federal space, I know that each state have their own regulations and their own, and of course, from the state goes down to the local. You can't use a local Miami certification, not even in Broward County, except unless it's the school board that has a partnership.
Yeah, so just a small reference on what Martha was saying, that if you have a certification across state, okay, let me start from scratch. The cross certifications available for other state certifications, like I'm doing business in the state of Ohio in reference to city of Miami or state of Florida related contracts. It will have to be based on, Martha, you could correct me if I'm wrong. If I have these certifications, I also need to get the certifications for the state of Florida to do business, correct?
Correct. So the person is in Florida but doing business in that state, in another state.
Correct, or vice versa, to do
Okay.
business.
Yeah,
in the
I
city.
would see what that state requires. Right? But that, because I had one client that I helped with a proposal, and it was in Oregon. And so I highly recommended that he partnered with somebody on the ground, because the local preference was there, and said there were certain services that only a local person can do. It was too late for that. But by the time he tried to apply for certification in that state, you had to have a physical presence in that state. So you have to see what the state regulation is at that point. Yeah.
And does the WOSB, the Women Owned Small Business, so only require self certification?
No. I don't know what that means by requiring self-certification. This is a certification that you can, if you're able to do it yourself on the Better Certify, you do it. That's something we also help clients with. But I am also aware of agencies that charges people a fee to do it for them when you don't have to pay. It's a free service. Yeah, you can try to self-certify if you understand the process and do it. But like a lot of clients that have come to me is because their application has been rejected. And I always said, let's take the time and do it right the first time. Because what I find out, when these things get rejected, it takes a lot more to do a corrective action than if we had taken the time to do it right the first time. Because you just have to be patient and read everything and make sure that you're answering, it's just tedious, but it's not difficult.
Okay. And then I just have a comment. Do you have any recommendations? No, recommendations. I'm sorry, recommendations on searching these systems, as they have not been successful to get the information related to the searches for any prior contracts.
So again, it depends what municipality or you or you targeting now, or you're a registered vendor. Do they know that you even exist with the people you're trying to do business with? So go that, if you see maybe an RFP or a project that you're interested in, go to the source. If I see something on sam.gov or BitSync, now that's Periscope, I don't even know all the names that they keep changing them to. I go straight. If it says Department of the Army, if it says, whatever, I go straight to because all you need at this moment is that project number. And you go into that website, to the entity's website, and that's where you get all the glory for nothing. You'll get all the information on the project. You'll even get to know if they had previous contracts awarded and what was it. And I like to also see if it's a recurring service. Is the incumbent, the person that has the contract now, is he gonna go for that contract? Do I have a chance to maybe get in touch with them for subcontract work? Yeah. So you go to their website.
At the same token, network with the procurement officer. And if the bid is if the contract is due or whatnot, it's about networking.
Yeah.
And having a great capability statement at the same token.
Yeah. And remember, and that's why I tell folks also, by the time the contract is advertised, the contracting officer can say anything to you, because actually you create problems for him if you're asking for stuff. That's why they ask you, please put it in writing, because they have to, whatever you ask about that project, they have to publicize it to everybody that has taken a copy of those, you know, that is involved with that project, because they can show preferential treatment.
Yep.
That's what I tell people prior to advertisement. Like Isu said, you have that relationship going. So prior to that, you can ask anything. They are obligated to tell you. You know, you can, but once it's advertised, it's over.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. This one, it's do we have any applied research contracts with the federal government for startups? And do we know the project number for the Army's award to FIU for material services? I don't have an answer for that, but Martha will be able to walk with you, Carlos, and investigate it more in depth. You know, roll up our sleeves and do the, you know, assist you with the research and see what can be done.
So that
Okay.
person, yeah, you have a research and development business?
It didn't specify, but I strongly encourage Carlos to register. So like that.
Yeah, so we can, yeah,
and to go more in depth. Yep.
because we need an assessment. Let me tell you, once we do the assessment, things that we don't even think about come up. And then we say, oh, we can, yeah.
Yeah. And then and then also for Davina as well, you know, I strongly encourage you to register, and like that, Martha will be able to go more in depth, do a holistic view, and then at the same time assist you with the not only the contracting side, but the what's next. Do you have the financial capacity to obtain these contracts? What's your cash flow? So like that, you know, our consultants and our spokes are eager to assist you. Like I said, this is no cost and it's confidential for you. So, you know, we're living as family, as we started as strangers. But like I said, anything that we could do to assist you, you will be receiving my email. I'll be more happy to connect you with the appropriate consultant, organization. Also the link to the YouTube channel for once the video is uploaded, it will be within 72 business hours. So by next week, you should be receiving it along with the presentation as well. So like I said, if there's any additional questions, feel free to email me and I'll be more than happy to answer any way I can, or our spokes and organizations will be able to answer it on the behalf. So thank you again for attending today's webinar, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you at our next webinar/event. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Take care.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And there's a lot of message in the chat. You got it all, right? We good?
Yes, I did. Yes,
Thank
I
you,
did.
guys. I hope you guys registered. Thank you for attending. Until next time.
All right, take care.
Thank you, Jesus.